standpoint. I stationed there from last half of 1951, all of 52, and a few months into 53 before they closed the base down as far as airplanes were concerned. I know I was very unhappy when they closed the base. I saw so many things happen there, and airplane crashes, airplane recoveries from the lake, worked on aircraft there that were used to search for airplanes that had crashed in the mountains around here, that kind of thing. And there's a lot of history in this book. This picture is a picture of a PBY that we painted up for a Christmas party for the kids. And I helped paint that airplane. And it's got every one of the Disney cartoon characters on it. And we put Santa Claus in it and put it over the side, started the engines, taxied it up the ramp, and we had all of the kids in a hangar. And we opened the hangar doors and taxied the airplane up, and Santa Claus got out of the airplane. And of course they all went spastic and had a really neat party for the kids. But as far as other things that I saw and had happen there, now Captain Grieber, who was a reserve officer in charge, there's several pictures of him in there, and he had two things that he was noted for. If he was having problems at home, in the middle of the night, he'd go have fire drill at the BOQ. And of course, all the officers really liked that. And if he saw any dirt on the base, around a building or something where it should be a flower bed, he had a little breed of I call ivy. It's just a plant with little leaves on it. We all called it Grieber grass. And you'd see it all over the base. Truculent turtle was Navy P-2 that was stripped down and turned into a flying gas tank and flew around the world. And that came and landed at Sand Point there when it did its thing. There's a picture of the hangar in here where the reserves hung out. And as you may or may not know, the Corsair was a gull-winged fighter plane. There was one sitting in the hangar with the wings folded. And guess where the machine guns were mounted in that airplane? In the wings. And somebody was in there checking to see if they were functioning, and they were, but he didn't know there was ammo in them, and shot a few holes in the roof of the hangar. That was an exciting thing to have happen. Well, yeah, we had Chief Malinowski was aboard one of them. He was our maintenance chief. And he went out and they landed with gear and floats down. And they came in, and as you know how the harbor is shaped there, up where the ramp comes in, they came in, they landed just off the ramp and headed towards the ramp. Well, as soon as that airplane touched down, the gear dug in, and it just tore the nose right off that PBY. And it went up and rolled over. And they were extremely fortunate. They had no major injuries in that at all. We had a B-24. What most people don't realize, the airfield that was there was high in the middle by 20-some feet. So there could be an airplane at one end and one at the other end. They couldn't see each other. Anyway, make a long story short, this guy come in. He didn't realize that there was somebody at the other end of the airport, and he turned, and he was going downhill. He didn't realize that either, and ran off the end of the runway on the south side and put that B-24 out in the lake. Oh, there's hundreds of them, literally. On the north end, well, we were out retrieving an airplane. We accidentally found an SNJ that had crashed in the lake, and it was still there. So we drug it out. We didn't research it or anything like that, but there are literally, I would guess, I won't say hundreds, but I know there's many, many, many aircraft that are crashed and they just didn't retrieve them. You know, it's too much effort to go and do that. If you look at the topography of where it's at, there's residential district to the west that's fairly high. There's mountains to the east when you get across the lake and get over there. And if there's any weather at all, then you got to be very, very accurate where you are to hit this little blurb land out here. It's easy to go off and go into the water either way. Plus, if you're familiar with how that base was laid out, on the east beach is where we stored all the birds that were going to be there to be overhauled. We had them tied down, maybe be 20, 30 airplanes at a time out there, which if you missed the runway, there was really no other place to go. We did something there that they said couldn't be done, and I say we. And you got a picture of this airplane that I helped paint. And so you saw that. But they brought in a PBM, and the tail section or empennage had been damaged severely. Anyway, they brought it there to repair, and civilian workers come out and took one look at it, said it couldn't be repaired. And anyway, our guys took a look at it and said, do we have another tail section or empennage around? And we had an airplane on the East Beach that had been severely damaged. And the military guys there, we took the entire empennage off of that airplane, took the same tail off of another airplane out on East Beach, put it back together, and put it back in service. And you know, the civilians were all standing there scratching their head, wondering how the heck those sailors did that, but that's the way it was. Seaplane that they used to transport military people back and forth from Hawaii to Alameda, California. It was called the Mars. And it was a 4-engine airplane. I tell you how big it was. It had bunk rooms in it, and every hour during flight, and it was a 14-hour flight from Alameda to Hawaii, you went out in the wing. You walked in the wing and inspected the engines while they were running when you're flying to make sure everything was going all right, you know. And that's how airplanes have changed. Well, Sandpoint was a very unique station. It had everything you needed. It had its own commissary. its own mess hall and barracks, of course, a medical building. It was a complete community within itself. And there was a lot of people that didn't realize all of the aviation history that little piece of concrete out there made. Tremendous place. And as far as a place to be stationed, it was a wonderful little base in that it had an exchange. It had everything you needed there, period. And you really had no need to leave the base. It even had a bowling alley. It had a nice theater, and the barracks were good. That base used to be that, and Arlington Airport was made in conjunction with that. With heavy airplanes would come out of Sandpoint, and the fighters would come out of Arlington and during the war to protect us.